Hello, writers and crafters. I'm Valerie Ihsan.
And I'm Erick Mertz.
And this is episode 104 of the podcast. It is March 1st, 2023. As we record this, our main topic today is launch days. And it's mine. And how to manage that, how to go through a launch day without completely losing your mind. We have no new patrons this week, but thank you to all of our existing patrons for believing in us and believing in the podcast. Go to patreon.com/Valerie Ihsan, IHSAN, for a bunch of writerly help, writerly benefits. And you can also go to patreon.com/Strange Air Stories for short stories that release every month in the paranormal mystery genre.
You'll get a new one next week.
New one next week, and the first one's free, so you can go check it out. Patreon.com/Strange Air Stories. I did get an email from a listener this morning that said, I just bought your book. I can't wait to read it. So thank you to Catherine for that. And announcements. This week I was interviewed on Sample Chapter podcast. So that went live Tuesday. So yesterday. So you can go to Sample Chapter podcast, and Jason interviewed me, and you can hear me read the first chapter of You Can't Dance a Lie after that short interview.
That's cool. The whole chapter. You read the whole chapter.
It's a very short chapter.
Okay.
I tend to write short chapters.
Oh, man. My chapters are getting longer all the time, I feel like. Uh-oh. Jason, if you want me on the podcast, it might take a while to read that first chapter.
You don't have to read the first chapter. It's just any chapter you want to read. So that one was just the one I chose to read. So I don't have any announcements other than that. Do you have any more announcements?
Not really. Nope. Got a new Patreon story coming out next week, like I said, and that one's a good one. And I will have a new book, a new cookie, we decided I don't like cookie. I like to call it the reader magnet. I'll have a new reader magnet here coming soon. So I'm really chomping at the bit to get that out there. I've been just ready to start revamping the marketing process, and everything's pointing at that. So yeah, that's kind of it. New stuff coming, but not today.
New stuff coming. Okay. Author updates. Well, most of my author update will be the topic today, but yeah, today is launch day.
Your author update is the topic.
Okay, I guess I won't even do any author update, because pretty much, other than I got my taxes all prepped and ready, and I think this weekend I'm going to go through Tax Slayer. That was the recommendation. I've been using TurboTax for years, but I'm going to try out Tax Slayer. It's less expensive, and I've heard they're a better company, but I haven't done my own research, so I don't know what to base that on, but I'm going to check it out.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then I read that Profit First book that I told you about last week. And one of the not tips, but activities, I guess, is to go through and try to reduce your expenses by 10%. So I went through and I printed off all my spreadsheets, my P&L statements for the last 12 months. And I'm going to go through and every single expense and write down whether it's unnecessary, or if I can reduce it, change it somehow, for instance, I do Descript for this podcast. I bought the service because I wanted the transcription service, but I actually haven't used the transcription service in years. It's really easy to put this podcast episode together using Descript, and it has some really cool features, but I'm not using them right now, and it's $30 a month. So maybe that is a place where I can, choose to use a different company that's less expensive. for the same. So that's the kind of thing I'm going to be doing in the next week or two, is just going through all of my expenses and just seeing, like, can I replace this with something less expensive? Is this actually necessary? Is this making me profit? That sort of stuff, and try to reduce my expenses down 10%. So that's my goal. What's your
That's a good goal.
Update?
Well, I did probably 90% of my tax prep this weekend, and yeah, I feel the same. I actually enjoy doing it. It's funny to joke about, oh, I have to do my taxes and act like it's this big hassle, but really for the purpose that you're talking about, it's necessary. Like I forget sometimes how much, what I'm laying out for different things. And so, there's expenses that I look at, like they're the cost of ambition, like covers and editing and those sorts of things. Like that is all indicators of, like, those are things I don't want to reduce. Actually, if I'm going to increase expenditures in anything, it's going to be those production related costs, because that means books are coming out and things are getting done. But then there are, the services. Like, we live in a world where a lot of businesses, that's their business model, is to get you to subscribe to things. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory or sort of way at all, but it's like, we live in subscription model world, so you have to be careful how many you have. So yeah, I did the whole audit of, and as we talked on off air, like, I still subscribe to magazines that I don't really even read. I probably have 5 issues of Poets and Writers magazine in a stack that I haven't read, and all I do is end up leaving them at cafes. So I'm
that's cool. Spreading the love.
Yeah. I leave them around. I put them in little libraries as I walk or something. And so, yeah, I think you have to do those sorts of things. And we've talked about all the different ways to be efficient and, or good to yourself. And I think if you could reduce your expenditures by 10%, that's being good to yourself. It has the tangible benefit of money, and it has the intangible benefit of feeling like you're doing the right thing. So I'm just writing away. I've got another note. I've actually finished a second novella. I'm really slowing. The novel rewrite process is slowing because it's tied to the cycle of my writers group. And I looked at the calendar and recognized next novel in my series won't be done until, if I follow that, if I keep with them for rewrites, I won't be done with it until late spring. So because I have stories and things that I want to get done, I ended up writing another novella that will slot in between a couple of books. So the book that I'm working on through my writers group will come out, but I now have written a novella that takes place between Chasing Shadows and Season of Shadows. I'll slide that one in the middle.
That's cool.
So yeah,
and that's not a reader magnet. That's just another book.
That's just another book. It will be an ebook only. I'll probably rapid release. I guess it'll just end up being by nature a rapid release, because I'll probably finish those books around a similar time, and then release them, one after another. Not that I want to make that a pattern in my writing life, because I'm not a rapid writer. But this is just a story I had in the file. It's something I wanted to write. It wasn't enough for a novel. And
so when you write novellas, is it your plan to only release as an ebook for all of the novellas that you write?
So here's what I'm thinking of this book that I'm finishing, Season of Shadows, is sort of the last book that I've in this series that I've written that I've had to rewrite sort of into the series, if that makes any sense. I started writing it, didn't know where it would land. Now I see where it lands, and I'm rewriting it to fit the chronology.
Okay.
That was just the way I was writing for a while. After this book, everything will be a planned follow-up. Like, I will start the next book that comes after that knowing that it follows that book. I hope that makes sense, because it's
the Season of Shadows or the novella.
Season of Shadows is like the next novel, right? So that I'll put out in print and ebook. But then the next novel that comes out after that in the chronology will be one that I write knowing the chronology.
Okay.
I was writing books and stories without really knowing the chronology, just because I had the story in my head and I had to
Uh-huh.
write it.
Yeah,
And so the rewrite process has been to fit the book into the chronology.
I see.
And that, it's hard to do. It actually creates a lot of doubt in my head. So I think after Season of Shadows, I think I'm just going to do a little pause. I'm going to rebrand some things. I'm going to just look at the series as a whole and really, map out the next 3 to 4 books and see what's going to happen. The problem with the novellas is you're right. Like is the print, a 30,000 word print book isn't, I don't know. I'll just have to see if that's even possible. I have thought about doing like an omnibus edition of short stories and novellas, and as a print, so I can do a print version of it and have that for those readers. I haven't made that decision yet, so we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
other short stories too that I've written, so I don't know. Like maybe I just need to like look at ways that authors will take that side material and publish it. I don't know.
Cool. All
What
right.
are you
What do
reading?
you? I was just gonna say the
Oh, I asked you
exact
first.
same thing.
Jinx.
Well, I am reading a book you
I've been looking at you on,
recommended.
yeah, I've been seeing you on social media. I know what you're reading.
So probably because I have been dealing with launch stuff, I haven't been, and plus I've been doing a lot of nonfiction reading. I haven't gotten into that novel yet. And we're talking about Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones.
Right.
So I'm like still only on like chapter 3, and usually it takes me, at least 3 chapters to like get into the point of view character and, settle myself into the world. And now I'm
Right.
in the book, and then I can read it in little snippets. But those first 3 to 5 chapters are pretty vital for me to like really get into a book. So we haven't had that experience with that novel yet. Because of just my life, I've been
Right.
kind of scattered getting ready for the book launch. And the first chapter is a different point of view character than the second chapter. And so
Right.
I do have a hard time with that, but setting that aside, I really wanted to get into this book because it came highly recommended. And so now I'm in
Yeah.
chapter 3, which is the second chapter of the second POV character. And something
Right.
terrible has just happened, and I don't even want to like look at it. So I don't know if I can read this book right now. Maybe I can pick it. I'm going to try and look at it tonight. Tonight's my hot tub reading night, so I will. But yeah, I don't know if I can. This might be a book I taste or put back, and read something else instead for right now. Sorry
I
to be a downer, and I'm sure so far it's extremely well written. I'm only in chapter 3, but it's just not landing with me right now. So I
It's the
might
right
have
book
to.
at the wrong time.
I think that's highly likely, and so I think I might have to slide some other lighter fiction in before that.
It's not a light book. It's definitely not light.
So yeah, I think I might have to set that one aside.
Fair enough.
What about you? What are you reading?
I'm reading Deadbeat by Jim Butcher. It's the next book in the Dresden Files, and it's another book in that series. It's not those books they do the opposite thing to me that you just described. They hook me right away, and so the first 70 pages are usually his books. I've noticed that his pattern in those stories are, for me, there's a great hook. The first 75 pages are usually really fresh, and then there's about 150 pages of very similar sort of act 2 stuff, I mean, it's a very the character Harry Dresden seems to get into unique problems and then starts to deal with them in very predictable ways. And it's so I'm at that point where it's like, okay, I kind of know what's going to happen for the next 150 books or pages. Sorry. 100. Well, you're right. He's written about 150 books. I know what's going to happen and pretty much know
all of them.
That's terrible. So this is where I lose my motivation with the Dresden books. I will push through because the resolutions are always unique. And I know that this book has a pretty serious series pivot. Like, this is a pretty big pivot in the series, and he telegraphs it in the book pretty early. But yeah, just the next 150 pages are going to be a bit of a like, okay, this is the part. This is going to be this. This is going to be that. It's hard for me to skim it. I don't know. I'm not a good skimmer because I just put it down and then I start looking at other stuff like, magazines or things. So I'll figure it out. I'll get through it. Darn it. It's going to be a good book. It's one of the best in the series I've heard. So, cool. And that's probably all in the resolution.
All right, let's get into the topic.
Launch day.
So I got my proofs from Amazon. Okay, so I don't even know how to start this conversation. Launch day is rife with stress and anxiety and anticipation and excitement, all wrapped together in a big hairy ball. For me, anyway. There is a lot of tasks.
No, wait, pause before you go. Why is that? Is it the expectation of sales? Is it what is that? Why is it rife with all of that?
Well, because you've worked on this product for years, often. In this case, it certainly has been years for me. It's also been many years since I've published anything. Yeah. So I have some anxiety about how to, things change so fast in this industry that all of the stuff I knew how to do with the last book launch are different now. Not all of them, but enough that things take a little longer. I mean, this is my MO too. Things take longer than I think they're going to. So, so any confidence that I would have coming into this project is a little bit not as strong as it was, going into the last book launch, because
that makes sense.
Because there's a lot of stuff that's changed. So there's that part. Also, because it's a memoir, it's a personal story, and I think I did a really good job writing it, and part of that includes not being my best self at the beginning of the book so that there can be a character arc. So that's embarrassing, I know that's going to be out there for everyone to read. So there's a little bit of anxiety there. And then, of course, you want everybody to like what you've written, so there's that anxiety. What if nobody likes it? What if they think it's stupid? That's just a normal, author thing, that has nothing to do with it being a memoir. It's just pretty much every author thinks that when they launch their books. Oh no, what if nobody likes it? What if nobody buys it? Yeah. So there's all of that. There's also the anxiety for me of, because there are so many publishing tasks and things to do to get ready for a book launch, inevitably you're not going to get through all of them. I mean, that's the ideal. And I always have such great hope that, yes, I will get everything done, or enough done that things will run smoothly, the first day or first week. And I did not get all of those things done. So that causes me a little bit of anxiety, oh, I wish that, for instance, I wanted to simultaneously release all formats. And by all formats, I mean ebook, trade paperback, large print paperback, hardcover with dust jacket, and the audiobook. Obviously, I haven't even started on the audiobook. So that's going to be like later this year thing. But, you know, I had resolved that very early on in the process. I knew that I was not going to be simultaneously releasing the audiobook with the rest of these, but I thought that I could get all of the other editions released. It's the same file, really, you know? So it is, and it's not, you know, I had to change like the large print edition. Actually, there's quite a bit to change. It's not just clicking the button and like making your font bigger, you know, there's a lot of other things, especially if you're trying to utilize the guidelines from the, I think it's the American Council for the Blind or something like that. So if you're using all of their guidelines, then there's a lot to change in your file. So yeah, I didn't. So what I'm releasing today is the ebook, the trade.
Well, hold on. So
okay.
I wanted to ask that because I think it's important to distinguish for listeners that there's different expectations all the time. I mean, and I just think if you spend some time in the author community, you see a lot of authors like talking about sales numbers, and it's all numbers. Like I didn't, you know, I launched this book and it didn't stimulate my backlist, or I didn't sell as many, or I just like to hear you talk about it's a process. There's a process that's behind this too, and I think that gets lost in a lot of the narrative out there about the author life, and that where people are just coldly looking at how many books they're going to sell. So, and you know, I think it's perfectly reasonable to want to have all four of the formats out, the big formats out. You know, it's like I just think I just appreciate that you're in the process, talking about the process of things, not just like you're not a numbers girl. Maybe you will be soon.
I mean, I like numbers.
Everybody loves numbers, but
I would love to see some sales or some ranking or something like that. But my personal metric of success is not necessarily those book sales on Amazon. Personally, I would rather see all of you guys go and buy the book from my local bookstore. He's free shipping for all of the US, so you can order it from him via email or on the website or over the phone, and he will mail it to you anywhere in the United States for free. So I would love to have a whole bunch of orders go through him, which isn't going to give me any sales ranking on Amazon, you know, and that's probably not going to get me any reviews anywhere, but that would be a huge metric of success, knowing that he's impressed by the book sales in that indie bookstore, and that my indie bookstore, my local bookstore, is going to get the benefit of the book sales. So that's actually would be the metric of success for me, because then he would be proud of me. You know, he's a friend. I worked for him for the last 3.5 years. I want him to be proud of me. And so that would be a great metric of success for me. And having a bunch of people come to the books, to the launch party, like maybe that's ego, but like that's my metric of success.
And this is what I want people on this podcast to hear. I want people to hear that, you know, there might be the part of your author, you know, impulse to say, I want to reach number one, or I want to get in the top 100 in my category, numbers, sales, you know, I want to make back my investments. All those things are important part of running a business, but you also have these intangible things that you can't ignore in the process of trying to earn money. Like,
won't be happy.
Right. I like my last book, when it launched, it sold like, I don't know, it's a small number in the big world, but it sold like 300 copies the first day. That's great. I felt great.
Fantastic.
It was great. I loved it. But then it's like, I didn't do a launch like you're doing. I had to look at my launch process and say, you know, what am I doing? I'm just hitting this Amazon, I feel like a hamster, you know, I'm hitting that pellet, you know, I'm hitting the bar, trying to get the pellet from Amazon. And that's not, so I like to hear that you've broadened your horizons, your goals, and
my metric of success is different.
Your metrics of success is more wholesome, I think, than just that numbers game. So wholesome. Listen to me. What am I?
Dude, I want to sell. Yes, I would love to have a great ranking on Amazon, but But yeah, my metric of success for this one is basically for all of my readers, to buy the book and like it.
And all of your friends that come walking down that row, and buys the book and get your signature on it, and you'll get that's going to be great.
If the books arrive in time.
Oh, okay. So now we're back to so now let's talk more about the anxiety, like how the process and stuff.
So I guess we've talked a little bit about in previous episodes, the nitty gritties of self-publishing and all of the publishing tasks. And I do have that writing and publishing checklist that I can, if you just email writercraftpodcast@gmail.com, if you want a copy, I will be happy to send it to you. It's just the worksheet it's a checklist that I created and I go through for every book project that I'm on. And it has all of the tiny little steps. So, and then there's some post-launch stuff on the list as well. Now, I didn't quite get through all of the publishing tasks before launch day. And the things that I didn't quite get done are important things. And I had my freak out moment, and I've given myself permission to not be the best at this, and I gave myself permission to have things to work on after launch day. So, for instance, all of the links are not put up and updated in all of the places. For instance, so I have a bargain booksy ad out today, and the only link it had was the Amazon link and just the ebook. So I think that was because all of the files didn't get uploaded fast enough for Amazon to link all of the pages or link all of the formats. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, if somebody using the bargain booksy ad clicks on the Kindle link, it will take it to the page that also has the paperback on it. So that's okay. But I would have liked to have had other links besides just that one store. And somehow that didn't happen. And I guess I don't really know why it didn't happen. I can extrapolate, but so that was kind of a bummer,
right.
I have a Kindle e-reader, but I also have a Kobo e-reader, and I prefer to read on the Kobo e-reader. So if I'm buying an ebook, I prefer to buy through the Kobo store. So I at least, wanted the Kobo link there too. So I'm not sure why that happened the way it did. Other stuff that is not quite ready, that simultaneously, releasing all of the formats. I don't have the hardcover ready yet because there was a mistake in uploading, and I have been waiting. I got an email yesterday from Ingram support saying, this is the reason why it didn't work, but that reason didn't make sense. So I sent another email saying, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. So I'm still waiting to there's some tech thing. There's just some uploading error that has happened. So that's why the hardcover is not available, which means I can't get a hardcover proof, which means I'm not going to have hardcover books at the book signing. I do have great hope for the trade paperbacks to be here in time for the book signing on the 11th, because UPS tracking number says it will arrive on the 6th, which is next Monday, I think.
Monday, right.
But there's been this snowstorm in this area of the United States, and it has slowed down all of the shipping. There's been several other packages that we've ordered, just my husband and I, just for random stuff that we needed for the house or whatever. And we keep getting all of these, oh, sorry, that was supposed to be delivered Wednesday, but now it's coming Monday or whatever, so that would be disastrous for the book launch party if I didn't have books. So another pre-launch thing that I wish I had done was order the books and the proof and, do all this stuff like at the beginning of February or even before that, you know what I mean? So that there was not this scramble and stress of trying to make sure I have what I need for the launch party. I do have proof copies from Amazon. I'm still waiting on proof copies from Ingram. And I ended up just ordering the books anyway. I think I talked about this with you privately last week, but so this was new for me. The proof copy from Amazon now has this giant bar across the front that says not for resale, which is a drag because
because if they're
I
perfect,
could have sold this large print copy at the sale, at the book signing, but now I can't. So that's a drag.
You can put them in little libraries. You can leave them in Airbnbs.
And I can just keep it for my, maybe I'll just have this be my reading copy. I don't know when I'm out reading, because it's nice large print. And my older eyes quite like that too. So
let me put a little sunshine on some of these things that you feel like you've missed. And I look, I'm not here to say, like, I'm not one of those people that when I hear someone stress out, I say like, oh, don't worry about it, or you're worrying too much. But if I'm going to shine a little sunshine, each one of the things I think each one of the things that you haven't completed by the 11th are things that you can use as just new things to talk about to your readers. Yeah, you darn well better have some print copies for people to buy and sign. Otherwise, it's going to be the band, which is we've established is already setting up right now because they're ready to play, is there to help you like feed the energy, book buying energy. But look, when the large print comes out, or the large, the audiobook format, all that stuff, those are new things you can talk to your readers about. Hey, look at this. Hey, look at that. So every one of those, I think what we struggle with as authors sometimes, at least I, up until very recently, like was struggling with, is what are you talking about if you're not talking about a book release? What do you these new things will give you something to talk about. Hey, look, hey, if you wanted the big print edition, here it is, or audiobook is coming soon. So
that's true. That's actually really awesome. Thank you for saying that. And it also reminds me too of kind of my personal mantra for the last, 18 months has been to learn in public. I have
what we're doing right here.
Baggage around like looking professional, whatever that means, and having everything perfect to present to, my readers or my customers or my clients. And I have to constantly remind myself it's okay to not look completely polished. Part of the charm of your book coach is that they're learning alongside you. Or
I don't think you want a book coach that says thinks they know everything that's happening. Honestly, I think that book coach is full of it, because it's not it's not realistic, because you're if you haven't released in 2 years, you're right, everything's different now. And I haven't released in 5 months, and when I put this little novella out in 6 weeks or whatever, it's going to be different from from those 6 months. So it's not like baking, right, where the same ingredients are going to make the same result. Everything is different all the time, especially if you're going to try to market anything. That's, talk about a wild world that's never the same.
So that puts a little different spin on it for me. Thank you. I feel far less like doomsday, which is not the way you want to feel on your launch day. So maybe this is not a soft launch day. Everything's live. Go buy the book today, please.
Go buy it.
There's ads out this week. However, I could, mentally just think of this as sort of the soft launch. Not everything is out and ready, and I don't have all of the books in my possession. But maybe, if everything is ready by the 11th, then that's my grace period, I guess. if you don't pay
You
your
know,
mortgage payment, you've got a grace period until
right.
they start.
I
So,
spent a long time writing music review, and so I would do a lot of I would a promoter would send me an album, this is coming out, get ready to please review this. And so I would see how the marketing trickle would come to me. And a lot of that is what I, have internalized and probably, tried to implement as a writer. But what I've noticed is that I think a lot of stuff comes out like this. The digital release is going to be on this day. And then the band would then put out like the vinyl release. And then there would be, so I think that again, because it's that marketing is like, you have to be marketing relevant things. And
mhm,
so it is relevant to say, hey, the audiobook is out, check it out, it's new.
mhm.
That's going to stimulate sales for the other book, it's going to garner interest, it's
True.
going to get
Yes.
the only thing about this that would drive me nuts, and I'm going to ask it knowing we only have a few minutes left, is reviews. So how did, and I'm one of your ARC readers, and I have not put my review up yet, but how has that process of like getting reviews worked for you? Because that you need those.
Um, I dropped the ball on it.
Oh no, I'm sorry I brought this
So,
up.
no, it's good. It's good for the listeners to hear.
But you're gonna pull your hair out in 15 minutes, and I don't want
No,
that.
no, no, no. Um, so ideally, what would be great is to send your ARC copies to your mailing list, to your ARC readers, to your Patreons, whoever your street team is, with the caveat that you have one. So I guess
Right.
that's first, is like building that up and finding people that are interested in that and being that for you. And then getting that out to them a good month in advance, at least, more if possible. Because realistically,
I've heard
like,
3 months.
yeah, I mean, realistically, if you're going to read an entire book, the average person might take, a month to read a book or something. I don't know, maybe longer, depending on what's going on in their world. And, a lot of people I know can't just sit down and read for 2 days straight. They've got
Right.
other stuff and other obligations. So fitting in the reading of a whole book and then, putting up your star review.
And if
So,
you are giving those books to readers who are avid readers, they probably have a TBR that's a mile long. So one way
right.
or another, you're right. I've heard 3 months is the time.
Yeah. And I, of course, wasn't ready 3 months before launch to give the book out to anyone. So yeah, it didn't get out in quite enough time. And also a good rule of thumb is to maybe a couple of weeks before launch, remind folks on your team, hey, launch is coming up. Here's some graphics. If you're, not putting up a review, could you at least put up this graphic on your social media of choice, announcing launch day, or, reminding folks, all right, when you do your review, can you say this, or, like say that you've
Right.
got this is your honest review and you received this as a advanced reading copy or something, whatever this phrase is that you're supposed to
Right.
say in those, just to keep it on their radar. And then like, a couple days before the launch, okay, it's getting ready. Everybody get ready. It's going to happen soon. It's going to happen this day. And then like day of launch, okay, everything's live. Please put up your reviews now, so that, there is also, if you put up, I believe, if you put up a pre-order, you can put reviews up because it's there on the site. So someone can go in. Is that true?
That may be different than the last time I
Okay.
did anything. From what I was on, there's a way you can game. Okay, so let me just say, there was this idea that when you put out a pre-release, that people couldn't put a review up until release day. So you had to be really handsy about it's in a week and it's today,
Mm-hmm.
and so you almost had to have like an email sequence that would hit your beta readers, your ARC readers, sorry, to get them to hit on that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that there's some way you game the system where if you do a print release first, you can do it'll take reviews. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Frankly, I'm not. I just have that cycle of emails that I send out to people. But you're usually 50 to 60% of the people you give your review copy to within a week will put up a review. That
And
should
I
be about
am
right.
personally not one that that polices that, you know, like if somebody wants an ARC copy and they never ever get around to writing a review, like ever, I'm not going to be mad.
Oh, you're a better person than me.
So, you know, and um there's been actually a couple of people on Instagram that have DM'd me saying, "Hey, I'm a book reviewer, you know, I have some spots if you want me to review your book, I'd be happy to." And my response to that is always, "That would be great. I'd love to send you an ARC review, but I don't pay for reviews." And then they don't.
They were
And they
asking for
don't.
money.
I think so. You know, that was kind of like, this is a service I provide, kind of like it's their job. And that's my hard line. Like, I'm not going to pay for a review. I won't even do like Kirkus reviews, which is kind of not industry standard, but they have been in the past.
Yeah.
So that's a hard no for me.
And this like, I don't know, we're towards the end here, so I don't want to open up a new topic. It may be when we talk about another time, but it's really interesting how touchy the whole book review world has gotten about that very topic, like paying for reviews. And not like, I was a paid music reviewer for years. I had magazines that would basically, they're paying you because to write about music, and there was no ethical problem about that. Like that,
because you're a staff writer.
Right. But now there's this whole, like, even people who are running blogs, which are essentially what music review magazines were 20 years ago. A music review magazine is what a blog is today. So that person is basically self-publishing a magazine. So I get where people buying a good review is not ethical, but that's a terrible, you buying a good review is awful. But I don't know, like it hits me a little bit, like, where's the middle ground where we have, like, a healthy review culture where there's people whose professional opinions are sought after, respected, and not vilified. But it's another topic.
That is very interesting way to look at it. I hadn't actually looked at it that way. The staff writer gone freelance
is still having to pay for their, however much.
I never thought of
it
that way.
I got like $200 a month, and I'd write like 3 reviews, and that was like, I don't know, that back then that was great. But I just think, like, and I'm not,
you might have changed my mind right there.
Me patting myself on the back, like, I spent a lot of time because I took it seriously. I think my taste in music at that time was pretty nuanced, and I think I had interesting things to say about music. And so I brought that to a review, good or bad. And I don't know. Again, let's make this a topic for a future episode.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I think I think you might have officially changed my mind. So I'm really happy to talk about this more.
Let's talk about it more. I can't believe I changed somebody's mind. It's not even 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, well, thanks for making me feel better this morning.
You can't do it all. You have to do what you can, and everything follows this. So
yeah. And I really like the idea of looking at it like I just have more stuff to talk about now. So as soon as the hardcover's out, I get to tell everyone, yay, the hardcover's out. I know it's not usual to have a hardcover release after the paperback release, but it's really important for me to have a hardcover release because I love hardcovers.
We are living in an upside down world, right? I mean, the sweet and savory go in the same plate anymore. And so if you can put out the hardback cover later, I give you permission.
Right on. I'm going to write that down. We live in an upside down world. That's going to be the subtitle of today's title.
What
launch
what
day?
That has
we
to
live
do
in
with
an
your
upside down
book
world.
release.
Oh, thanks so much for talking with me today.
My
Eric.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. All right. See you next week, guys. Bye for now.
See ya.